Okay, mate, we're ready.
Okay, mate.
What's on your mind, dude?
You know when you read a book and so on,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost when I have tried to read it today. It's like a magnetical impulse from within that pushes away, you know.
Right.
And I tried to get into the mood to read it because I really want to read it, you know. But it's almost like an inner feeling that is like. Very strong, repelling it, and I am still motivated to read. But as soon as I start to read it, just want.
And what is the book?
It's a Corpus Hermeticum.
Right. Okay. So it's the whole body of hermetics.
It's like 117 pages, I think.
Yeah, corpus means the body of something, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So it's what Hermes Trismegistus talked about and so on.
Right. Okay.
So this is like let's read it from behind. The Corpus Hermeticum is a collection of second or third century treatises that have survived intact the systematic destruction of the early Catholic Church, given mainly in the form of a dialogue between Hermes and a human interlocutor. The writings reveal knowledge of the origins, nature, and moral properties of the divine, and on the principle of as above, so below, as below, so above, of humanity and all other spiritual beings. Using this sacred knowledge, mankind can rise above the material and enter the realms of the gods. The Corpus Hermeticum is a foundation document for all students of the Hermetic tradition.
Right. I'm going to make a note of that because I'll probably buy that book.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different. Uh, this translation is by G.R.S. Mead, like uh, that.
Yep. Okay. Joris Mead. Yeah. Well, as synchronicity would have it, um, I'm just listening to a video on uh, the Catholic evil demons um, destroying millions of Cathars between the 11 and 1300s. The Catholics, I swear to God, are evil through and through. There
Hmm.
is nothing about them at all which is remotely benevolent. Everything about that cult is evil. And there's more and more people speaking more openly about their buggery. And I watched something by Anon Hillman last night about the Catholic priests, how it is absolutely a part of their main body of structure to sodomize prepubescent boys.
Hmm.
And they've got a whole ritual how to do it, and they've had this ritual for hundreds of years. And they protect the secret knowledge under the threat of death for anyone that reveals it. But years after events, stuff is coming out more and more. So yeah, that's the the synchronicity with the Catholics, what
Hmm.
it's just been spoken about, what you've read. So
Yeah.
you feel that you're being repelled from that. Do you think it's got anything to do with the text, or do you think it's just something that your mind's not settled enough to read at this moment in time?
Yeah, yeah. I tried many different ways. You know, I took some kratom, tried, didn't work. I lighted a candle just to get in a mood for it. Didn't work, you know. And still very motivated to read it, you know. And so I
Yeah, because
just
that's a great book.
yeah, absolutely. So I just took up pages like that just to read in middle, yeah, of the book, just to see if there was something that motivated my right away in a different way, and so on. Like, yeah, like, yeah. So that's it's almost like if you would take two magnets like this, boom, boom,
Yeah,
goes like that.
two
And
magnets of the same polarity, they repel each other.
yes, exactly. And a certain thing that because I can feel it within the body as well, you know.
Right,
And a similar thing can be like when I focus on my heart chakra and so on. Sometimes I try to delve in there. There comes a magnetical repelling thing
right.
like that.
Yeah,
And that are also strange because I often try to penetrate beyond, deeper within that. And I actually had a psilocybin trip today also.
right,
And um, I cried a lot. I can do that on psilocybin sometimes, you know. And I also tried to open up when it happened because I recognized it was repelling, you know.
right. So
Hmm.
how many grams did you take?
2.1
Yeah. Why 2.1? Why so precise?
because that was what I had.
Oh, was it all you had? Okay.
Yeah, similar Sita.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a decent amount to get you thinking.
yeah.
Um,
I felt like it was a decently strong experience, even if I have had far stronger, you know. So it was actually potent.
right. And so
Yeah.
did you get many visuals with that, or was it just a cerebral thing?
Pretty much visuals, yeah, where things were morphing and so on, you know.
Right,
And I was outside in nature. I started from home because often I usually plan my trips and do it kind of ritualistically, but I didn't do that this time. So I then thought, no, I want to go out, you know. So I just went out and into nature, and things started to morph after a while. But there was machines here and there that I could hear, so I just tried to just stay present with it and so on. And kind of annoying that they have their machines here and there. I think about it, it's like, oh, you just screwing around with me now, you know.
yeah, yeah. There seems to be something sinister going on when you're looking for this peace, and it seems that it doesn't matter where you go in the world now, you can't find it because there's always going to be an aeroplane or something in the sky to destroy it. But
Yeah.
okay, so you had this experience and you was very tearful. What was prompting you into feeling tearful?
I that was a pretty. Uh, it was things like self-love and such a thing. You know, I'm not the kind of person that that feel self pity and so on, you know.
Yeah.
So I often just try to stay observant on myself to that it's not any kind of an exaggeration of any feeling or anything like that, you know. But it just it came automatically, like I almost start to puke when it comes, you know. It's so intense.
Right.
Then so started to cry a lot, a couple of times, and it was based on things like it's insanely dark at times, you know.
Mm,
Things like why did my mother not just kill me when I came out of her and stuff like that. That is
right.
pretty extreme, you know.
Mm,
Um, Still, I recognize that I have self love. Other times, it's like, well, to have this kind of thoughts is like self hate, really much self hate, you know, and I wonder where it comes from. And then I start to think, yeah, my father. Yeah, certainly there's something there, but why am I feeling like that, and why is those thoughts so strong? You know,
mm.
it's not like it just come from made up. It's come like it's come directly from me. You know.
Oh, it's from your core, comes deep
Yeah,
out of all your suppressed emotions and everything like that.
yeah.
And so, what prompted you to take the mushrooms at this moment in time? Did you feel that you needed to address something, or was it just something that you wanted to do? Why did you take them?
I have felt for a while that I needed to address something, you know, that there is something within me that is needed to get revealed, so to
Hmm.
speak. But I don't know what. So had a thought for a while. Maybe I wait until around 13 or 15 when the next full moon is coming, or
Hmm.
I wait to the end of the month, about the 30 or the 1st of December or something like that, when it's the new moon.
Right.
So I thought about it for a while. So I decided to do it because uh, I couldn't decide what was best, and I try to reach intuitively in myself. Is this right? Is this wrong? I couldn't really get a clear yes or clear no, but I assumed what I felt like when I feel a signal going upward is a yes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you did them, and then you started to have these um, self-hate feelings of worthlessness, regret that your mother never killed you instantly. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. That is, isn't it?
Yeah. But 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 I am not new to that very kind of strong kind of things, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, I have had similar thoughts before, you know, and I am I when you ask me how I feel, I say I feel very good, and I often do, you know. I often feel very good, but um, it's very paradoxical. It's very two-sided, you know. Like I could think like, yeah, it's good that I don't have a gun sitting by my
Right.
bedside, because the risk is that I might pull the trigger on a bad day, you know.
Right. pull the trigger on a bad day. Um, yeah, well, this is very Jungian psychology because at our core is the true essence of what we are.
Yeah.
And we can often, brush everything off, and we can airbrush all of the cracks that we know we have, and the flaws, and we can say, yeah, everything's cool and it's great. But if the certain circumstances are prevalent, then we can think quite differently, and we can have bouts of deep sadness. And I remember having these in the past, and I haven't had them for some years now. And it would appear that I've got a good resolve on all of these darker facets. Um, but yeah, I would often feel very sad about the world, about what it is to be a human being. Nothing in particular, nothing related to me in particular, just a pervasive sadness.
Mm.
And I've heard it said in deep, profound psychological realms that lots of people feel that the true core essence of the human existence is a deep, pervasive sadness, and everybody's just putting on a false smile and grimacing and bearing their life here, but nobody really wants to be here, because at our core we know we don't belong here, we're not from here, and we want to go home. And when we get
Mm.
really deep into the spiritual aspects of things, and when we look into the Gnostics and the archonic containment of the human being, well, all that sounds very, very feasible. Because if what the Gnostics say has an element of truth, then we are all captured souls in a living hell.
Yeah.
And when we wake up, we realize we're in this hell, and we work to try to raise ourselves up consciously to get out of it, and raise ourselves up spiritually to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre, isn't it, that through ancient mythology, they say these things that we can all experience deep in our core, when we allow our fortifications to fall down.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing that does that better than taking entheogens.
Absolutely. Um, Hopefully, it was good for me to take it. I mean, it. I. Uh, I haven't done it so much lately. This is just like the second time this year I take mushrooms. So
Yeah, and so what we always have to go on is the feeling that we derived ultimately, and it's very often something that we don't get straight away. Uh, the answer to the message that we were given comes about later, 2 weeks later, a month later, you know, incrementally,
yes,
slowly, we put the pieces together. And then we realize that that bad trip was a great trip.
yeah. Actually, it. I do certainly not look upon it when I had a trip as a bad trip either. You know,
Right.
because. I'm kind of used to these existentialist thoughts and feelings and so on. So for me, it was not like I wouldn't be able to expect that anything like this could come up. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's always highly probable.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, when we think, oh, right, I'm going to go out into nature, I'm going to take these mushrooms, I'm going to have this connection with nature and this, that, and the other, and then it's all going so well, and then all of a sudden, it's like someone just taps you on the shoulder and goes, oi, what about all that shit that you've not got a resolve on yet? And it's like, oh, fucking hell. Not, what now? And he goes, yeah, now. Let's do it now. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
God.
just jump into the like uh, cleansing fire in a way, you know.
Yeah. And do you think having the mushrooms has got anything to do with you not being ready to start delving into deep esoteric stuff? Maybe the mushrooms just want your mind to relax, to simulate what you went through today.
That could be a thing, yeah.
Mm,
But I had similar feelings within the last couple of days, also, you know.
right.
Um, and also when I before I even took the mushroom today, I was sitting down writing, making a bunch of scrambles on the paper and so on, bunch of different symbols and so on.
Yeah,
um, and I couldn't come up with anything to write either. It was like also like a barrier there already.
yeah.
And
Do you think that have you been anxious um, in recent times? Because when we feel anxious, we cannot settle, and we need to keep moving, and we need to keep active and busy, and that's why anxious people they never sit down. Um, but because predominantly I'm a very still person these days, I will notice the difference in the calmness of my body if I just even so much as drink a cup of caffeinated coffee.
hmm,
If I drink caffeinated coffee, then when I'm sitting down reading my book, I'm not 100% immersed in it because I've got this feeling in my heart and in my chest and in my stomach, which is a mild anxiety, which the caffeine brings about. And I can't feel settled enough because I am aware of that. But when I don't take caffeine, then my body is absolutely still, and then I can concentrate 100% on what it is I'm reading. So the thing is about modern life, people don't realize, but every impurity that they take, it takes them away from their core essence. When they smoke a cigarette, when they drink a cup of coffee with caffeine in it, when they have a caffeinated drink, whatever it may be, whenever they have got something that they need to attend to, and it's on their mind, it's taken away from their present stillness. And obviously, people living busy lives, they have all these things together. And people think that, oh, I need this caffeine, otherwise I couldn't do nothing. No, I mean, all you're doing is just topping yourself up with, uh, demonic substances at the end of the day, because caffeine is an anxiety inducer. And if people need anxiety to get them out of bed, to get them motivated, well, it's a ridiculous thing, isn't it? That you need to fuel your body with anxiety to do something, because that's all we're doing when we're smoking and when we're drinking coffee. You're just causing your heart and your visceral anxiety.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's why I had a habit for a couple of months, or maybe even 6 months or something like that, where I did not drink coffee until I maybe did that habit for a longer time until it had went at least 1.5 hour from getting up. I drink my first cup of coffee.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
why don't you
two
just drink
hours.
decaf?
Uh, because I kind of like coffee, and I like the caffeine, but I know exactly what you mean when I get that cortisol rush from the coffee.
Yeah,
Because if I take a third cup of coffee later in the day, I will feel the only the one sip that, oh, this was maybe a little too much, even if I just take one sip later in the
right,
day.
right.
So I'm pretty sensitive towards it also, yeah.
Yeah. So, many people, when they have these levels of anxiety, they want to try to kill the anxiety with substances. Um, so they try to override it with caffeine, with nicotine, with varying substances such as like cocaine and heroin and all those sort of things,
Yeah.
and they think that they're getting respite by doing this, but all they're doing is well, putting a band-aid on the issue, and causing their bodies so much more uh, disturbance that it overrides the underlying anxiety, which is their default setting.
Yes.
And the thing what I've found is, which is the only way to get rid of our anxiety 100%, is the stillness of the mind and body and heart through meditation. And when I was meditating for 5 hours a day for one whole year, I entered into another level. And when you're in this level, because when you are in a meditation, you cannot feel your body. You have no indication that your body is there, and that is the ultimate height of the body's purity, when it's not telling you that it's here. Because when your body is hungry, it tells you that it's here. When you're anxious, it tells you that it's here. When you're addicted to something, the addiction is telling you the body's here, and it's saying the body needs servicing, the body needs tending to, the body needs this, the body needs that. And as long as the body is craving something, whatever it is, it won't leave you alone until you give it the fix. And then the fix is only temporary before it comes back again. But when you have purified yourself from all of those impurities, then your body is at its default state, which is pure. And then when you have a meditation, you can slip into a meditation instantly, because you're already in a meditation. Your body your body is absolutely still, and there are no demonic energies pulsating within your viscery. There's no craving, there's no addiction, there's no desire.
Yeah.
Because if you know that things aren't possible, if you know that you know all the things that you could crave are not possible, because you can't have them, the facility isn't there, then you can wean yourself off them, much more easier. But like,
Mm.
if you love bacon butties and you live next to a cafe that sells bacon butties and you can smell them coming in your window every morning, then that's going to be harder than if the bacon butty shop was closed down and it wasn't an option anymore.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, when we look at what the body is saying to us, um, and of course, I, like you, have a lot of time on my hands. I sit down in an empty house, a quiet house, and then I pick up my books, and on occasions, I can't read them.
Mm.
Um, I'm not still enough. And I say to myself, what's going on? What's with you? What's with you, Aaron? What is it? And sometimes I don't really know, but sometimes I can work it out. That it's because I need to address something else. There's something else which is more important than what I'm reading, or maybe what I'm reading isn't that engaging, because I'm just doing it because I need to get that foundation of knowledge, even though it's not that interesting to me.
Mm.
So that book, of course, that would be a very inspiring book to read. And
Yeah,
like you say, I would very much be interested in every page of it. And so for
yeah.
something to repel you from that, I can only think that your higher self has got something else that it needs to resolve
Yes,
um,
yes.
in the interim.
Yeah.
It doesn't want that extra confusion. It doesn't want to waste your energy on such complex information. It wants to work subliminally on something else.
Hmm. There's different things. One is my economy, um, but of course that's a part of the problem, but it's not certainly not the whole challenge of it all. There's also the thing where I sustain from pornography and masturbation and so on. And because that was what I started to think about now, because that's also kind of a stimuli, because when you have used that as a coping mechanism when you maybe were a child, then that's ingrained into the mind that there's where you can get your easy fix of dopamine, so to speak.
Yes,
And there also comes in unresolved trauma around childhood into that. I think
into what facet?
of the stimuli from masturbation and pornography and stuff like that.
What do you mean, like a guilt thing, or
Not a guilt thing, but as one used it when one was a child
yeah,
as a coping mechanism.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that is the part really what the one tries to relieve oneself from when negative feeling come up or something. That's a route to go to,
Right, okay. So
because it's a
like,
hyper strong stimuli for the mind because it's like visuals and
yeah,
at the
so you
same
get a
time.
heightened stimulation, and then you get the release,
Yeah,
and the endorphins through the relaxation. So yeah, the masturbation very often can serve a purpose for people that are highly stressed. And because it's a stress relief. And so, if people are constantly stressed and stressed and stressed, this is why people become sex addicts or porn addicts or whatever,
yeah,
because it's not the so much the desire, but it's the relief of the stress. Now, I've often said in videos, and I don't know how people feel about speaking so direct, but for instance, if you are going to get into the deepest of meditation, then the body has to be served. Because if the body isn't served, then it has energy built up, and it's the energy is in anticipation for lots of things. So we can have an anticipation of a sexual relief, and so if you haven't satisfied that, then when you're in the meditation, then the mind, some stage, is start going to give you sexual imagery or sexual thoughts, because that's what the whole body is keying up to do. You
Yeah.
see, and this is the thing, and you see, this is one of the reasons I suppose that the Catholics have this guilt sex thing, related to guilt related to sex, because sex preoccupies the mind, and the Catholic Church is a very, very, very austere, jealous institution, and
Yeah.
it doesn't want anybody to thinking about anything except God, accept the church, accept the crucifixion, accept your sins, how terrible you are. And if you are pleasuring yourself, that will never do, right? Because you're not supposed to be pleasuring yourself, because you're scum. You're a dirty, filthy miscreant that doesn't deserve to live. You should be praying to Jesus every single day. You see, that's the cruelty of the indoctrination and the evil of these mind-bending institutions. And that's why so many people are so angry about being indoctrinated into those sects. But the fact is, the sexual gratification requirement is very, very necessary for the human being at all ages to varying degrees. And so we have to learn how to work with these energy forms. They're spirits. There's a sexual spirit. There are other, every time we enter into something, whether we're smoking cigarettes, there comes on board a cigarette smoking spirit. If you are a drinker, there comes on a drinking spirit. If you are addicted to sex or porn, then there is the manifestation of one of these entities. Something actually does dwell within the body. And we
Yeah.
know that this actually happens because we can get rid of them. And when we get rid of them, we feel the absence of them. This is a form of exorcism, and you're nodding like you've done it. I've done it multiple times with multiple areas. We exorcise ourselves from these demons. I used to be very prolific with pay girls. They were part of my life for many years, as was cocaine and uh, excessive alcohol and cigarettes and anything that would give me a buzz, danger. I had a very dangerous spirit. It's gone now. I've exercised
Mm.
myself. I've cleaned my house. And in my book,
Yes.
there's a chapter on cleaning your house, extricating, evicting all of your unwanted spirits, because there are many that dwell within us. So when we become pure, we only have a few remaining spirits, i.e., one that I don't consider is a negative spirit, is the sexual impulse. So I allow that to be. I don't want to get involved in the Catholic guilt of masturbation. I'm not allowing that evil demon to enter me. I would much rather have the natural spirit of sexual gratification calling on me whenever it calls upon me, rather than allow the Catholic Church into my life, or any other notion of feeling guilty about my own natural propensity.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much about the feeling guilty. I wouldn't say like uh, i- it's up to each and everybody what they choose to do with that part, but it's more like it's a hyper uh, intense stimuli when it comes to pornography, because there has been made studies where it produces as much dopamine as cocaine and so on.
Mm.
Because it's it's uh, it's so available
Yes,
everywhere, so to speak.
but you see, the stimuli is different because we're not taking any substance into our bodies. All we are doing is we are just activating that which is natural to us. So if we look at stimulating imagery, then we awaken our sexuality, and the sexuality goes, "Oh, it's time to play, is it? Okay, cool." Because we human beings like to do that. You know, DMT uh, mocks us for our sexuality. And
Hmm.
this is one of the things I learned from DMT. It kind of mocks you for having these sexual urges, which seem so primitive to the DMT entities. It's kind of like, oh, you human beings, you have that messy sex, or you masturbate. Yeah. And it's kind of like, wow, yeah.
Hmm.
So when we are going to read, if we're really going to read, then we really need to be still and pure. Because
Yeah.
if you pick up a book and in half an hour you've got to be at work, or you're expecting a phone call, or you've got to go shopping, all these things, they're going to be at the back of your mind, and very often they're going to be at the forefront of your mind. And whilst you're reading blah blah blah, you're going to be, oh, okay, I'm going to, don't forget, you need some lemons and you need some ginger, yeah, blah 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 blah. Oh, are you going to have burger tonight, or are you going to have fish and chips? Oh, probably fish and chips, burger, blah blah blah. And all these things are going on, you see, which detract us from absorbing the information of the book. Now, I know many people. In actual fact, I've barely met a single person which could say to me that when they read a book, they absorb a great deal of it and they retain it in their memories. And I've always had this ability to do it. And my family and friends were always very surprised and always remarked, how can you remember this stuff? And I'm like, how can't you? I
Hmm.
don't think it's anything special. Uh, but why can't you remember? Um, and it's like when I used to go out with Mr. Nobody. We'd watch a video, the same video the night before we'd meet, because we wanted to talk about that subject. And then I'd say to him, okay, so you start. Well, what facet of it do you think's the most, significant or poignant? And he'd go, what was it about again? And I'm like, what was it about? You only watched it fucking less than 12 hours ago. And we said we'd talk
Hmm.
about it, and now you've forgotten.
Hmm.
And I was speaking to a friend yesterday when I was out, and he says he cannot read. There's no point in him reading because he will not retain a single line. He doesn't
Hmm.
have the capacity for retaining information because there's always too much going on inside his viscery and inside his mind. It's hell. And he told me it's a living hell. On a level of 1 to
Hmm.
10 with anxiety, he's at a 10. So if you are at a 10, then you can't learn anything. Your mind is
No.
traumatized.
Yeah. And I think about a friend who do not read books because it reminds him of school.
Right.
And he's a very intelligent dude, and he reads a lot on forums and so on the internet and so on. But he can't pick up a book because it reminds him of school.
Right, so he's obviously got some bad experience
Yeah.
deeply embedded in his psyche, maybe because his parents forced him to read these books all the time, and he really didn't want to, and now he just feels like it reminds him of his suffering.
Yeah, yeah. He's also the kind of guy that never kept the job for too long because he can't have any authority over him. He's rather his own man with his company and so on, you know.
Right.
So,
When I was at
yeah.
school, because when my mother died,
Yeah.
I went into many different children's homes and different schools. I was always enter into the school at half term. Very rarely at the beginning of the school term, where everybody else did, and so I was always the new kid in the school,
Yeah.
and the whole of the school knew what they were doing. They were well into their curriculum, and I all of a sudden just landed into it, and it's like just opening the book at one page when you've got no idea what the book is about, but you expect it to, and all the kids are looking at me as if to say, "He doesn't know what's in this book,"
Mm.
all this sort of stuff, and I couldn't do anything work. And I felt very intimidated until in the end I felt angry and resentful. And I went, fuck you with your bullshit. I'm not interested in your stupid fucking crap in any case. And so I would be disruptive and get sent out of class. And so this
Yeah.
went on throughout all of my school years. But when I was 9 years old, I had to have special reading classes because I was behind. And I had to read very thin books with very big words. And
Mm.
these sort of books, like penguin books, and this variety of book was called Peter and Jane books, about a brother and a sister, and Peter and Jane would do this and Peter and Jane would do that. Peter and Jane would go down the shop for their auntie Sally, to buy some groceries, and Peter would say, oh, don't forget to buy the bananas for Aunt Sally. Oh yes, and this simple stuff. And I used
Yeah.
to read Peter and Jane need to go to the shop for Aunt Sally. And I used to hate that bullshit. And so this teacher, who was a special teacher, she used to come in specially to help people that needed extra curriculum work. So she was a civilian, she was a part time teacher. And so she decided one day that she's going to get some books that she knew I'd be interested in. So she bought some books in on pirates. And the
Mm.
pirates were Frederick the Red, Roderick the Blue, Blackbeard, and those sort of things. And I was like, fucking yes. And I was very enthusiastic about reading them. And so she knew how to get in touch with my core essence and my psychology by appealing to something that I was interested in. But what
Mm.
I'm saying here, the point of this is, I was behind in everything. And I couldn't do math. I could barely read or write, even to the point whereby when I left school, I still wasn't, very good at all.
Mm.
But then I was self-taught, and I took it upon myself through my own education of reading things that I was interested in
Yes.
and learning how to write business letters because I wanted to for my business. Then I became very good.
Mm.
In short time, in a short time. So it wasn't because I had the lack of ability when I was a kid. It's because I was always behind. And then a
Yeah.
level of resentment was built up because I was behind and I was being mocked. And I just thought, fuck it. I'd rather go outside and sit under a tree in any case. So um, when we look at childhood issues and why people are like this and why people are like that, we can never be sure as to the reasons. We can only very, very broadly speculate. Now, I'm speaking to a guy that I've become friends with down the gym, and
Yeah.
he's full of muscles and he's good looking and he drives a great car and he's intelligent and all the rest of it. But under the superficial facet which he presents to the world is a living hell. whereby he's taken everything under the sun to try to ease the suffering which he feels his body is producing. And I said to him, well, normally people who have that sort of issue have been traumatized as children. And he said, my childhood was blessed.
Hmm.
And so there's
Yeah.
no root. There's no root whatsoever. He comes from a small family with a mother and father which are still together, and all this sort of stuff, and yet this anxiety. So what I've been reading and listening to recently, Andre, is
Yeah.
spiritual stuff, and what the people in the spiritual realms have been saying, and saying more and more prolifically, is that, look, this whole thing with anxiety, it isn't necessarily a societally induced thing. It's being a young soul. When you're a young soul, and I made a video about this today. When you are a young soul, it's like being a new kid in a new school. You don't know anybody. You don't know any of the curriculum. You're completely blind, and so it's a natural propensity for you to be insecure. Now, when we come as new souls to Earth, it's natural for us to be insecure because we don't know anything. We've got no knowledge, no wisdom, no experience. So, of course, we're going to be on red alert about everything. So, when we look at people who are anxious, 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 and they're scared of every fucking thing, they're scared of their own shadow, it's my estimation that it's because they are new souls, because that's the most feasible way of looking at it. Because if I look at myself, and people have told me that I'm an old soul all my life, and I most certainly believe that, because the fear facet of my experience is very, very small. It's almost
Hmm.
insignificant, and I've never ever given fear credence because I've traveled all around the world on my own. And if I've ever been worried about traveling the streets the early hours in the morning in dodgy cities, then I'd have a truncheon or a pair of nunchakas in my pocket, and I was always able-bodied, and I was always prepared, to consider that I could protect myself against any of this stuff. And so, if anybody was going to be having trauma and feeling scared about everything, then surely it would have been someone like me. And it would have been someone like me if I was a new soul. But because I'm a very old soul, then all of that childhood stuff, mother killing herself when I was fucking 4, and all the unsettling stuff that I've had in my life, being shot in the bed, being incarcerated on 2 continents, and shacked up with the most dangerous people on the planet often, it's been water off a duck's back as far as I'm concerned. And
Hmm.
so it just depends on your spiritual development. I've become increasingly positive about that. What do you think about that?
Ah, that is a possible thing, and I think that by that standard, if I look upon myself, then I certainly have had amounts of fear in my life,
Keep talking.
uh,
I'm just going to get a drink.
and so looking at myself, that hmm,
You see, if you look into your core essence and gauge the level of anxiety that you have on a daily basis. Now,
yeah,
I've often made videos about this, and I've said it and I've said it and I've said it, but invariably I get very little response because the vast majority of people have no subjective awareness of how their body is feeling in the minutiae.
yeah,
Some people will say, yeah, I'm anxious, or I'm anxious about everything, and they've got a racing within their visory, and they can tell you that. Then some people will say, well, sometimes I'm anxious and sometimes I'm not. But it only becomes apparent when it's a real level of anxiety. But you see, the vast majority of people, they carry anxiety as a default. And it's only when you realize that you're carrying this and you look at why that is that you can try to extricate the reason why we are anxious. And the anxiety, can very often be very, very buried, very subliminal. And we may even need, to do regression therapy to discover what the root of our trauma and issues are. But if you are self-reflective, and self-analytical, then you can find them yourselves, But when you do, you sit down, and when you are an avid meditator, and you've sat down for hours and hours and hours, and you get to a point whereby you can't feel your body, except maybe a fluttering of anxiety, which is the only thing that you're feeling. And when that goes away, you ask yourself, where did that go? Why is that not here today? And then when something happens, or maybe something doesn't happen, maybe it just comes back. You don't know the reason why. And you go, that level of buzziness inside is back. And so then you look at it and you concentrate on it, and you tell it to be free, just to be free, just to go away. It's not necessary. You don't need to tell me anything, because these anxieties, they're the variety of spirit telling us something, telling us that we need to be afraid, telling us that we need to be in a heightened state of awareness for something because there's a potential danger. So if I was ever going to have that, then of course I'm going to have it in incarceration with the most dangerous men on the fucking planet. But when you can settle yourself until that absolutely goes away, that's when you really, really are settled. And so when you've done that, and there is nothing there, and you can't feel anything about your body, when you close your eyes and close your mind down into the stillness, you can't feel your body, your heart, your breath, nothing. That's when you know you have exercised all your demons. But then, through everyday life, doing this, that, and the other, you'll discover that there's the odd one that starts to come back, and then you have to address it. So, you meditate, you know what it's like to sit still. So, on a ratio of 1 to 10, where do you think you are now?
At this moment in time, I don't have anxiety, so then I would be on a level 3 or something like that, or yeah, 3 maybe.
Okay, so that sounds like it's just a guess.
Yeah,
Have,
yeah,
have
it's
you
just
have
a guess.
right? Have you ever been at level 0, where there's no feeling in the body at all?
No, I don't think I 100% been there, but I might have been there because I don't know if I were in a meditative state or I have fallen asleep. I don't know because it was very different.
Yes. Well, what
Yeah,
what you see, we need to be aware of these things. We
yeah,
need to have a level of alertness about them so we can
yeah.
monitor it. Now, whenever you meditate, from this point forward, always now at the back of your mind, have this level of awareness, which is going to remind you of what the body is feeling. Can you feel your body? Where can you feel your body? And sometimes we can feel, maybe the blood stopped in our legs or something like this, if we're not used to sitting cross-legged. But that's not what I'm speaking about. And I'm
Mm.
not speaking about a flat arse, whatever. Uh, um, because when we get into a level of meditation, the mind just goes over that. It detaches itself from that because that's normal. That's just something that the body can never escape, really, unless we're lying down absolutely comfortable and flat. We're always going to have a little bit of something that the body is aware of. But what the mind does is, when you're in a deep meditation, it pushes all that aside, because we go into a level of hypnosis. And when we are trained hypnotists,
Yeah.
we instruct our clients into, you feel absolutely relaxed, and there is nothing that's going to take you out of your relaxation. It doesn't matter whether you hear a door slam, whether you hear a car horn or the phone ring. There is nothing that's going to break you out of your meditation. And so when you instill that into your client, then when a door slams or the phone rings, they've already conditioned their mind not to be alerted by it. And so they continue in the deepest of meditation. So we do that to ourselves when we are in the meditation. We tell ourselves that we're going into the deepest and profoundest of meditation, and there's nothing that's going to bother us. We're absolutely at peace. And you see, when you teach people to go under hypnosis, one of the first things you have to assure them of is that they're perfectly safe, because so many people are very insecure about letting all the barriers go, about letting their defenses down. They've always got to feel as if they've got to be on alert, you know. Particularly if someone is putting them into a trance, they get insecure. Oh, maybe this guy will rape me, when I'm in a trance. And there's all this sort of thing. And this is the natural propensity of the human being, because we're always conditioned into being afraid about something. But when you have the absolute confidence that nothing is going to harm you in any shape or form, um, then you can alleviate yourself from all that. And when you do, then you will feel nothing in your body. So, as a litmus test now, whenever you are meditating, anybody that's still listening to this conversation now, whenever you are meditating, have an awareness of how the body feels from day to day, and it will change. And then you can say, I feel more than I did yesterday, or I feel less than I did yesterday. And then you can start to grade yourself from a 1 to 10. And when you feel the absolute least, that will become your default setting. And if you feel a little bit of something, then that will be the lowest you can go. So let's say that's your 1. But when that completely goes away, then you'll go down to 0.
Hmm.
And so when we do this, then we become free. We become emancipated from the trappings of the world, from the trappings of the archons, and all of
Yeah.
these fears that they force upon us, through their indoctrination.
Yeah. Hmm. And maybe then also document it on a paper here and there every now and then, yeah, from day to day.
Yeah, keep a journal.
Yeah.
You see, look, when I've been dealing with clients throughout many years, I've always instructed them to do this sort of thing, and to keep a journal every day of how much they're feeling their body through normal everyday activity, when they first wake up in the morning, when they're falling asleep, because all these different times of day carry different levels of potential anxiety. Now, some of my clients, so, I used to do therapy for quite a lot of years. They used to tell me that when they wake up in the morning, for a couple of seconds, they feel absolutely still and calm. But then their ego mind clicks back in, and it tells them that they should be afraid. And all of a sudden their world is shattered, and they can physically feel the anxiety manifest when it
Hmm.
wasn't there before. So I say to them, I say, well, look, you are doing it to yourself. You see, it's not a default setting with your body. Your body is pure. And when your body is fed and watered and sexually catered for, your body will be absolutely still. It's your mind that is going to be instructing the body to feel in a certain way, because it's going to be telling it to create cortisol.
Yeah.
So you have to address why you are telling your own body to create cortisol. And then
Yeah.
we have to address what's going on, and we have to look for resident spirits. We have to look for these spirits that want to traumatize you, that want to keep you in a constant state of hypervigilance. Why? What's it all about? Who's benefiting from it? You know?
Hmm.
And so, we have to really get down to the spiritual. And I've been speaking in recent times about the depth of the spiritual realm, because this realm isn't just the so-called physical. It's not just the psychological. It's not just the egotistical. It is, natural fact, a spiritual realm and a dimension. And we are a soul, a reincarnated soul, which some are old and some are young, and these souls have a vast depth of experience and wisdom, which some of it is imparted into the ego when the ego is mature enough to be able to deal with it. When we're old souls, like myself, because I'm an old soul, then it knew that the incarnated body is what can I say? It's the right body for the right information. You see, old souls, there's no reason why an old soul would want to enter into a shrinking violet. What on earth would it want to do that for? An old soul is about experience, experience, experience. Look at the experience I've had in my life. I've lived 1,000 lives. I've lived, and I've done more than 1,000 men. That's an old soul. That's the spirit that's took me around this world. It wasn't going to choose a body that was afraid. You know, so when we look at these things, Andre, we have to absolutely know that we're dealing with the supernatural,
Yes.
and we'll never get to the bottom of any human issues if we leave the supernatural out of it.
No.
And this is
Hmm.
why Carl Jung's work is so important, because he was always including the supernatural, always looking into the metaphysical, the deep unconscious, and the collective consciousness, and spirit itself and spirits. Because he knew that's what it was about, and you will never come close to any of the answers if you only have you know half of the tools for the job.
Yeah.
So whenever you're looking at yourself and you're wondering why, then you have to extend your level of inquiry into the supernatural, into the spirit realm, and you have to know that you are a collection of spirits, and that these spirits are life forms unto their own, and they enter into you if they can use your body in a certain way. And I've spoken about this. Well, the spirit of adventure was very much one of the controlling energies of me for many years. Now that spirit has vacated. I can't feel that spirit anymore. He's not here. I don't get the call to go climbing mountains, to go traveling the world, and to go, through tropical jungles. I just don't get the calling. That spirit has gone.
Hmm.
And so we look at other spirits, and another spirit. What's very prevalent in me now is the one that wants to sing, the one that wants to play guitar, the musician, and the naturalist, the green man. Look at me, I'm becoming the green man every fucking day. My
Yeah.
whole world is about the green man. That
Yeah.
spirit has embodied me. And Paul said, he says, you've been took over by the green man.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't always like this. Now everything I do is an expression of the green man's spirit.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, you know what? I start to flimmer in my eyes, you know. Start to get like a, migraine or something.
Really?
Uh, but I think my mind, when it has been overworked and so on, you know.
Overwhelmed, yeah, because look, the things I've just been saying,
Yeah,
um, uh, they take a lot of energy to assimilate.
yeah,
And there's been so many occasions in my life when I've just been talking, like I'm talking to you now, not nothing like as deep, and I've actually watched physically the energy drain out of people's faces.
yeah.
And there's lots of people that can't be in my presence more than for a short period of time before they have to leave because they find it overwhelming. And this was very much the case when I went out yesterday with this. Young man, 28 years old, um, a young soul. He just found it overwhelming to be in my presence. There's just too much. Every one line I say just is too massive for him to comprehend. You know, they've got no awareness, and they get drained.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I enjoy it. You know, that's why I was like, yeah, well, like to sit here and talk, but my eyes are like,
Well, it's late for you. It's
yeah,
11:30, and you know this is your sort of bedtime, and
yeah,
so that's why. Anyway, you know this has been an hour and 10 minutes, and so
yeah,
it's been a good conversation. And
yeah.
so, unless you want to wrap it up with a few final words, then we'll finish it.
Yeah, I think it was a great conversation. Always something, you know.
Yeah, there's always something to
Yeah,
comprehend and to delve deeper into and to look into,
yeah.
because the cosmos is massive, consciousness is massive, and it's so fractalized. Just when we may be thinking that, oh, I think I know quite a lot now, you turn over another leaf and you realize that you're at the bottom again. You're starting again on another journey.
Yeah.
And that's what it's always like for me. Um, because look, if you start to get abreast of knowing what the ego is, then okay, you think, oh, I know what the ego is. Then you abreast of what human psychology is, and then you abreast of what you are and how your psychology is. Then you've got to start learning about your soul. Then you've got to start learning about your spirit. Then you've got to start learning about your connection to cosmic spirit and spirits in general and all that sort of thing. And it's just a massive amount of information that we have to engage with, and it's endless, and nobody will ever get to the bottom of it. And so it's a lifelong journey. And
Yeah.
you know, very few people can travel it because they are obligated in too many other ways. And this is why uh, what we see in life, particularly in the olden days' time, philosophers were always independently wealthy. They came from very wealthy families whereby they never had to concern themselves with the mundane. And if they were given to expansive thoughts, then they could pursue those thoughts 24 hours a day. And so you never read about Socrates or Plato having to go and fucking lay some bricks or do a bit of carpentry. We never heard a single word about any of them ever having to put hands on anything to acquire their food and accommodation.
Hmm.
They're always catered for by whatever forces, you see. And so it's only people who are given uh, to this emancipation. And when I look at myself now, I've emancipated myself 15 years ago. Which is the nature of a philosopher, because I decided that I absolutely need 100% of my time to apply myself to this journey. And there's no
Yeah.
way am I spending any fucking moments of it doing things that are superfluous to my journey, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And so when I'm making my videos and people just tune in for an hour or half an hour here, they're picking one grain of sand from the beach of life. They can't
Yeah.
see the beach. They've got no idea that the beach is even there. They're picking one grain of sand. And some of them may think that's a little bit interesting, or that's boring, or that's
Mm.
so far flung from my job working in a fucking boring office, answering the phone. Hello, CNN, can I help you? Or whatever it is. What?
Mm.
And then they're tuning to my videos.
Yeah.
It's another world, isn't it?
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah. My migraine is kicking in, but no headache, just flimmering a lot, you know.
yeah, well, go and get some rest, because your body is assimilating this shroom trip today, and so your
Yeah.
mind will be working on it all night long. And so try to remember your dreams if at all possible, because something will be
Yes.
spoken to you within them. And so if you say to yourself 20 times before you go to sleep, you're going to remember your dreams, then the chances are you will.
Yes. I will do that right away.
All right, dude.
Yeah. Thank you for a nice talk,
Yeah, you're
mister.
welcome, mate. You too,
Yeah.
and I'll catch you later.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Bye.
Andre.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.